So today we're talking about cell homeostasis. We're on unit 2.2 and we're on page 29 of our handbook. Now remember that homeostasis means to maintain constant internal conditions. Maintain constant conditions. And usually we mean inside of the cell or inside the body of the organism. Now, because we're talking about how do we maintain those constant conditions, we actually are going to work our way out and move our way in. So on the very outside of the cell, we have the cell membrane. And the cell membrane, hopefully you remember, is involved in cell transport. All cells are made up of a cell membrane or are enclosed by a cell membrane, and they perform all those functions of Sternger. But with the cell membrane is going to help perform transport, the T, and the R for regulation. Okay? So hopefully we also remember that means to regulate, and the T stood for transport. And that's what our cell membrane is going to help us to do. So cell transport means that cells are going to vary in what they need to bring in and out of the cell. It depends on what the cell needs. Maybe the cell needs more oxygen. Maybe it needs to get rid of extra water. But anything moving in or out of the cell needs to move through the cell membrane. Just keep in mind that the cell membrane is made up of those phospholipids with the heads and the tails, and a lot of proteins. So it's made of the lipids, the fats, and the proteins as well. And that's actually going to contribute or affect how things move in and out of the cell, or what can move in and out of the cell. So the cell membrane is a barrier that surrounds all cells. It's made of a bilayer, 2 layers of those phospholipids. Here's the same type of picture of the cell membrane. It's just kind of a little more simplified. And embedded protein channels. So here are our proteins. And what is a channel? A channel is like a little waterway, okay? If you think of rivers and lakes, a little stream of water, that's just letting it in and out. So small molecules are able to cross through the membrane between the lipids. So here you can have small molecules, and you'll want to write this in on here a little bit, like CO2, carbon dioxide, can move through the cell membrane very easily, and so can oxygen. Larger molecules are going to require transport proteins to cross the membrane. So down here we might have something bigger. We might have something like sugar, okay, glucose, which was C6H12O6. Okay, that is the molecular formula for glucose, sugar, the bigger molecule. And you can even see that it contains more atoms than CO2. Now, some proteins are channels that allow molecules to move passively, and some are actually going to be pumps. So you're pumping, you're working, that require active energy. So if you notice over here, we're actually going to talk about 2 types of transport. 2 types of transport that are passive and active. Notice that over here with active transport, you require ATP, which is energy. So you need energy. But over here with passive transport, there's no energy needed. No energy needed. Okay? Now for passive transport, this is going to require no energy because the molecules are spreading out from high to low concentrations without barriers. There's nothing in its way. The 2 main types of passive transport are diffusion and osmosis. Let's go ahead and underline or highlight from a high concentration concentration to a low concentration. Okay? And we need a circle. There's no energy needed here. On the left-hand side of your notes, you have a little extra space. You can kind of scoot it down a little if you need to. But when you think of passive transport, I want you to think of a hill. Okay, a hill. You're at the top of the hill with a little wagon. And if your sister was pulling the wagon, and she got to the top of the hill, if she needed you to go down the hill, might not be very nice, but she could just push you down the hill. And if she just kind of tapped on that wagon and pushed you down the hill, she wouldn't need to use any energy, right? After she got you started, she wouldn't have to do anything anymore. And so that requires no energy. And what you want to keep in mind with the hill is right up here, you're at the high, okay? And I'm going to put these brackets around the H, little square brackets around the H, and that stands for concentration. So high concentration to low concentration, and there's no energy needed. No energy. Okay? And that should be a really easy way to help you remember passive transport, no energy. How do we know it's no energy? Because we start from high to low, and pushing that wagon down the hill is really, really easy. We don't need to use any energy for that. Then we have diffusion. Now diffusion is the spreading out of molecules from high to low concentration. One thing that we add here is if it's water that's moving, it's not called diffusion. So not water. For water, we'll have a different name that we'll look at in a second. But if it's gas, if it's like oxygen, O2 or CO2, that's going to be considered diffusion. Here they're showing you a picture. Here's those oxygen molecules, okay? O2 molecules. Right now they're on the left-hand side, so there's a really big or high concentration of them. We'll put a little bracket around high concentration. And then eventually it's going to spread out and move to the side that has a low concentration. And eventually, when it's finished and time has passed on, after a while, you're going to reach what's known as equilibrium. Okay? So again, no energy is required because molecules are moving with or down that concentration gradient. And one of the reasons why diffusion happens is because molecules are always constantly moving. Okay? Unless it's something that's like a solid, like the plastic that's on this bucket right here, these are stuck in this structure. But the gas that's in the air is moving constantly. The water molecules that are in a cup are constantly moving. Even if the table's not shaking, even if the cup's not splashing around, it's still moving there. So that's why even if you had a very still cup of water, you drop some food coloring in it, eventually you'd see that food coloring spread out. And that's because all of the molecules in there are constantly moving around. And the red food coloring that you put in will eventually spread out and even out. Okay? So a concentration gradient is the difference between two concentrations. Where is the high and where is the low? For example, in this next picture that we have, this is a picture of a lung cell. Okay? And for the lung cell, what are things that are going to need to move in and out of that cell? Well, oxygen and carbon dioxide. So we'll want to go ahead and name lung cell. The name of this is an alveoli. As an example, if on the outside of the cell, I had, let's say here with this arrow, let's say we had 5 molecules of CO2, carbon dioxide, okay? I had 5 of them. On the inside of the cell, I had 3 molecules of carbon dioxide. What you see in blue here represents your blood, okay? Those are your arteries that are carrying blood throughout your body. As your body picks up a bunch of carbon dioxide from your cells that your cells are getting rid of, when the arteries come back and kind of swing back around to your lungs, as as it does that, because there's more or a high concentration of carbon dioxide outside of our lung cell, that high concentration will move to the low concentration that's inside of your lung cell. So if you notice in this arrow here, they're pointing to you and showing you that carbon dioxide moves into the lung cells. Why does it move into the lung cells? Because it's trying to get out of your body. This is what's happening when you're exhaling. You're breathing out that carbon dioxide that's being moved out of your body, being transported out of your body. And as it does this, because this is a lung cell, it's passing through the cell membrane. Okay, and again, here we see that word equilibrium. When all those molecules even out, when we eventually have 4 here and 4 here, we're evening out, and that's called equilibrium. So osmosis is the diffusion of water across a membrane from high to low concentration. Very important that you know that this is just water. Okay, only water. Water or osmosis is a form of passive transport, and so no energy is used. Cells have to balance their water. Changing conditions mean cells can be in different solutions, and they actually have to respond to that. So if you put a cell in a solution with lots and lots of water, it's actually going to take in more water. Pure or distilled water is 100%. Salt water is going to contain solutes, and solutes are just molecules such as salt or sugar that's dissolved in there. Now that image that you just saw a second ago, we'll talk about a little more in class. But moving through the rest of the notes, we are going to have to figure out how to determine how does a cell react when it's placed in a specific solution. So you have this picture here. You have a red blood cell. How is your red blood cell going to act when it's placed in distilled water? What was distilled water again? It's pure water, only H2O in it. But what's going to happen when a red blood cell is put in a solution with a lot of salt water? What's going to happen to the water in this cell? So the most important thing when we're trying to figure these out, and it is going to be a little bit of math, is we're trying to find the side with the most water. We're trying to almost always talk about how does the water move, okay? So how does the water move? And remember, it moves from high to low. And so when we're looking at problems later on, we're going to figure that out. Do make sure you pause for a second and read over these real-life examples about plant roots and water, slugs and salt, and vegetables at the grocery store. And the last section here are factors that affect cell transport. There's 2 main things that are going to affect cell transport. The first is the difference in the amount of solute. Remember, the solute is the stuff inside of your solution. So solute is stuff like NaCl. This is actually salt, okay? Or it can be sugar, or it can be water. Or, I'm sorry, it can be sugar, it can be salt. And the second is the amount, and this should be a number 2, amount of energy. The more energy you have, the faster things are going to move. So actually, when you increase the temperature, you're actually going to increase the rate of those molecules moving and increase diffusion. So that's going to be all for our notes today.